Hello there again, and today let me take you with me to explore the beautiful city of Palma de Mallorca. In the last video, I have told you about our crazy trip and how we were flying over to the island of Mallorca. So, without further ado, I think I'm going to just show you how beautiful the city is.
Balancing on a weary line, too scared to trust you and jump down.
So, it is our first day in the capital of Mallorca, Palma, and it was quite a journey to get here.
29 years I've been the same, trying so hard to run from shame. But how long can I keep up the pace? To fool myself I don't need grace. Will you be there to catch my fall? Be sure you'll
A bit windy.
darkness around me and I don't know.
So we are currently aiming for the city center, the historical city center, and wish us luck. The weather is pretty nice, it's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's a bit windy. Yeah, so far so fine. After yesterday's crazy journey, here is much better. You know, there's one big difference between Venice and Palma, and here are cars and I'm not used to it, but I have to be aware that there are cars. Our plan was to leave the hostel sometime in the morning and find the closest supermarket and get ourselves equipped for the day, which meant mainly getting ourselves water and then some breakfast. And after that, we aimed for the city center. Yay! The side of the cathedral was absolutely breathtaking, and in this shot you can see how small I am in comparison to it. I mean, it's gigantic, truly gigantic. And yes, I have seen other big buildings, cathedrals, but there is something really outstanding when you have such a gorgeous building that's standing right there on the coast. Yep, the wind was blowing pretty hard that day, and it threatened on a couple occasions to actually take my sunglasses. The other part of the day was a completely random walk across the city, which in my opinion is sometimes one of the best ways how to explore a new city. You just let your instincts and emotions guide you and lead you wherever, literally. You're just following whichever street you like. More often than not, you end up in extremely interesting places, and sometimes in these hidden gems you wouldn't normally find if you were going with your tourist guide and reading what's interesting in the city. Those are going to be like the main points of the city, but if you want to find something that's a bit less touristy and interesting as well, probably just sometimes trying to go somewhere and not thinking that much about where you're going is a great way how to actually explore something. These gardens, I don't know why, but it just felt sort of Asian, as if I were in Bali or Thailand. I don't know why, but these like petals and blossoms just floating on the water surface, and this stone bathtub. I don't know if you can call it a bathtub, but you get the idea. It was so beautiful, and yes, a lot of people were taking pictures there. I can't see why. There was something about that place. The Asian thing might be just completely my thing. Maybe you get a completely different feeling out of it, but everyone's different. you can see that I was totally enjoying myself because there was like this little maze, you could call it, and this little pond with the fish swimming in there. I mean, ooh.
Gonna let the sun shine in.
One other place I was recommended to go and see was the Palma promenade. Yeah, it was a good recommendation. We decided to just sit down, relax for a bit, eat our lunch, and just calm down. On one hand, it was one of the greatest ideas we've had that day. On the other hand, this was where a major mistake happened, because here the wind was blowing really hard. You can see that my hair is flying everywhere. So the temperatures weren't that high. You didn't feel the sun that much, and that was the biggest mistake. And though we were wearing sunscreen and we applied it regularly again and again, we still got sunburned, which for me is quite a rarity. I'm sort of a lucky person to not get sunburned that often. But that day I got a really bad one. It stayed with me most of the trip. Yeah. Lesson learned.
I'm gonna let the past be filled with smoke, and I will try to fix what has been broken. And take this away.
I'm really curious about how this works, because there's this water lagoon here, right beneath the cathedral, and the water is pretty close to the ground. And if the tide comes in, I wonder if it doesn't just flood this patio or this promenade. It's something I probably could find out or Google it.
I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day.
Now this was like our final walk in Palma. We were crossing the city from the promenade over to the bus station or the bus terminal. We've encountered so many of these little squares on our wall, and this white boulevard, or if you can call it that way, which was just lined with the trees. Yeah, the greenery was a beautiful thing in the city, and the fountains gurgling sometimes from these squares. You know, when the restaurants put out their tables and chairs on these squares and people actually sit in front of the restaurants, it's the thing that makes the city so much livelier and like friendlier. Sometimes these places are the ones that I love the most. Just watching the life spring up from everywhere, and this bustle and, you know, the hum of the city. I know some people are like, they're not that fond of these places, and when they're overcrowded and very touristy. Yes, I do understand that. Sometimes I feel the same way myself, but in other times, these places are just a must-see, you could say. You probably need to have a day to want to go and see these places. As I was saying, we were crossing over to the bus terminal. Okay, now, so here we were. The Google was saying that we've arrived. And we were like, what? There is a park and there is Nothing. There are no buses, no trains, no nothing. And now look again. This is what's above. This is the entrance. And now this is below ground. Yep, the entire public transport system in Palma de Mallorca is below ground, which was truly, truly, truly impressive to say the least. And now another adventure began, and that was to get on the bus, the right bus.
We're on the hunt for our bus, and it's gigantic, this place, wow.
And drive over to the north of the island. And with that, to be continued.